Hello, it's Tom Donald from the London Contemporary School of Piano. Today we're going to have a Fly Me to the Moon piano tutorial, the ultimate Fly Me to the Moon piano tutorial. We're going to go over the piece in lots of different details and angles to improve your arrangement skills, and we're going to play it in a variety of different styles. After all, there's many ways you can play this piece. It's been covered by countless artists. So we're not really going to be in copy mode. We're going to just go to the core of this piece, the harmony, the melody, and we're going to work through these things. So if you're a fan of our work at the London Contemporary School of Piano, you could head on over to our website and request our free resources kit, which accompany many of these YouTube videos, including this one. We have lead sheets of different songs in the resources kit. You can also head on over to numerous websites on the internet that support high quality sheet music and purchase a lead sheet version of this piece. We can't obviously supply you with that due to copyright reasons. So what is a lead sheet? A little bit different to just a chord lead sheet that only has chords on it. A lead sheet has the melody and the chords, but nothing else. So if you are looking for the sheet music of this piece and many, many other pieces of music, let me strongly recommend one thing. It's going to just save you loads of time and mistakes and problems. Don't get a full-blown arrangement of the piece, because then you're just committed to a full-blown arrangement of the piece and you have to play it just that way. You want a lead sheet version that just has the melody and the chords, nothing else, because we can use that information to grow and build out our own musicianship and real functional musical skills. Lead sheets are often referred to as the fake book. There's the jazz fake book. The real book is now another name it's given. And it's just those two things, melody and chords. And that's the lens in how we're going to study this piece today, Fly Me to the Moon. So let's get started. So let's have a look at this particular lead sheet we have of the piece, and let's just start with a nice simple basis for learning the song. We're going to play this in a jazz style to start with, and a very popular jazz style which works really well when you're playing with other musicians, but also works really well if you're playing by yourself. So we'll start with that. And we're going to play with our chords in the left hand and our melody in the right hand. Now, some of you who've been following this channel and my work for a while, you will just be like, what? Did you say chords in the left hand and melody in the right hand? You've been saying for ages not to do that. You're breaking your own rules. Yes, I'm breaking my own rules. But there's a context thing here. In a lot of pop music, particularly when we've been covering the Elton stuff and that type of music, putting the chords in the left hand and the melody in the right hand in a lot of pop songs sounds terrible, and that's why I don't recommend you do it. But in this type of music, it actually is quite effective because it's more of a jazz composition, and it also has to be treated quite carefully. And I'm going to show you how to navigate the potentially muddy waters of having the chords in the left hand. Now, the first golden rule of having our chords in the left hand, the big do not, is this. I mean, I don't think I need to explain that. I'm playing an A minor 7, but playing it down here in the left hand in the bass, you would never know that's an A minor 7. All I can really hear there is just noise. It's very muddy. And even if I go up an octave, that's much better, but that's probably as low as I really want to go. If I start getting any lower than that, it's already getting a bit muddy down there. So generally, as a rule of thumb, in this jazz style, we want the chords to be around the middle point of the piano. This is perfect. So if I play the first four chords of Fly Me to the Moon, A minor 7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7. That works really nicely. And I'm using inversions, and I'm using a really nice, sensible way to arrange inversions, because inversions can be very confusing for a lot of students, very understandably so. You're arranging music on the fly when you're looking at a lead sheet. Not an easy thing. So we want to use these nice muscle memory tricks so we can get some good progress with our inversions. So a really useful skill with these seventh chords is to drop the top two notes. We start with a root chord and we're following almost like a 50-50 rule. Root chord to an inversion, a root chord to an inversion, a root chord to an inversion. So we have A minor 7, drop the top 2 notes, and we have our D minor 7. G7, drop the top 2 notes, and we have a C major 7. F major 7, drop the top 2 notes, and we have the B half diminished. E7, drop the top 2 notes, and we have the A minor 7. Now we're going to add some extra passing chords, which are optional. These chords are only optional. You might see them flash up on the screen occasionally. You can use them if you want. If you find it's too much, just keep it simple. That's sometimes the best principle. A minor 7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7, C dominant 7, F major 7, B half diminished, E7, A minor 7, A7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7, E minor 7, A7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7, E7. That's the first half of the piece, by the way. We'll do that again. Just with the left hand. And you can see this really lovely pattern of root chord to inversion, this 50-50 pattern. Really helps us organize our thinking with inversions. And it also helps us break each chord into groups of 2. So if you're finding any of these inversions hard to find, which is totally understandable, you can just look at the lead sheet and determine chords in groups of 2. So you could spend time playing just the A minor 7 to the D minor 7, and just to get the feel of that. Then the G7 to the C major 7, and get the feel of that. The F major 7 to the B half diminished. The E7 to the A minor. And the A7. Now, because the A minor 7 is in this nice cozy position in an inversion, there's such a small change to turn that into an A7. We just have to turn the minor 3rd here into a major 3rd. So I might as well stay in an inversion there. D minor 7 to G7. Do that again. C major 7. Now here there's a jump, so I'll jump up to the E minor 7, to the A7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7, E7. So I'm going to add the melody to that, because that really creates a very effective accompaniment. It wasn't too low. It wasn't down here. Now the danger is if I start down here, it's not offensive down there. I mean, here it is. That's too low. But the problem is, as I play this progression, it sails lower and lower, so it's too low already. So we want to start towards the middle C region of the piano, which you might find on a lead sheet in many jazz pieces will create some potential other logistical issues, like hands overlapping with each other. By the way, that's actually quite a good thing to do, to have your hands overlap with each other. There's nothing wrong with that. But just to give our hands a bit of space, we're going to play the right hand an octave higher than it's written on the lead sheet. It's a nice texture up here as well. This is a nice melody to play and learn, because I have many different types of students, and we have many students at the school, at the London Contemporary School of Piano. Some students have a background in sight reading, so they can read music. Some students have very, very limited reading skills, but they have read a bit of music before. Some students, reading music is totally new to them, but they know a lot about chords or a bit about chords. Everyone's on their own, their own level and their own musical journey. Some people want to learn to read music better. Some people, that's not a priority. They just want to get better at chording out songs and using their ear. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. What I like about the Fly Me to the Moon melody, everyone knows the song, and it's quite scalic, this melody, sort of moves in the scale. It's got a nice logical progression of melodic movement. So if, let's say, you're a 10% sight reader, 90% ear person, your sight reading will help you a little bit find the starting points of phrases and notes. But your ear will also help you. So you can have two of those aspects working for you. If you're more of a 90% sight reading person and 10% ear person, well, it's vice versa, and you can strengthen the weaker side, or you might be more 50-50. Put in the comment where you think you sit. Are you a 90% ear person, 10% sight reading person, or is it 80-20? Is it 70-30? What's your split? It's great to put these things in the comments because it really demonstrates as a global community of pianists and music lovers, we all have a different way of learning. You see, most of us start to believe one size fits all after a while, and what works for us is only, or what works for us must work for everyone else. But we all actually have different styles of learning. We're very flexible with that at the school because we've done a lot of research and development on that. So it's always good to have these conversations and just to sort of see where we stand. Maybe you're 100% ear, 0% reading, or 100% reading, 0% ear. And in fact, this is a good song to try and work out by ear because you know the melody, so you can sort of look for it on the piano. So I'm going to play a bit of the melody now. Now you'll notice with a lot of these jazz pieces, we don't have to follow the exact rhythm of the melody. There's a little bit of flexibility to our rhythm, and I'm going to talk a bit about rhythmic flexibility as we get further through this tutorial. Let's just play the tune. And I could continue, but it just gives you an idea of the feel and the groove that we're looking for. I want to put these hands together though now. So we're going to keep the chords quite gentle in the left hand and just to accompany that right hand. And let's see what happens. Let's play through it in this manner. So when that melody repeated, it's generally exactly the same the second time around, but it's slightly modified towards the end. Now, I'm just going to make one disclaimer. Whatever you're seeing in front of you on the score, on the lead sheet, might not exactly match the melody I'm playing right now. That's because I don't have the sheet music in front of me, and I'm using a little bit of jazz flexibility firstly, and I'm playing a little bit by ear as well. So sometimes I might resolve it on a slightly different note. And that's also an interesting point when thinking about pieces like this, because different jazz singers will use different notes sometimes to close phrases, and that's totally fine. That's not to say that there isn't one established way of playing it that perhaps the original composers wanted, but it goes to show that in the culture of jazz, there is that flexibility there. And that's why it's quite nice to also work some of these melodies out by ear with the chords supporting you. So if you do get our resources kit from our website that has the chords to songs like this, you're left having to work out the melody just with the chords, and that can be a really useful exercise as well. So the way I was accompanying that melody was sometimes I was repeating little stubs of the chord to sync in with the melody. And you can do things like that. So that left hand really sets us up for some very nice improvisation. But before we start improvising, I want to talk about rhythm and groove. Rhythm and groove is one of the most underrated areas of our playing. And it's really what brings our chords to life and brings our music together. And by the way, if this is something you feel you've got to invest more time in, your rhythm and groove, it possibly is, because it's one of the most underutilized areas I've noticed in people's study. We do have the Groove Mastery course. It's just for a mere £25. You can get the opportunity to really develop your groove with our lifelong resources kit on Groove. It comes with backing tracks. It's a great way to support our work as well, so we can keep producing this wonderful content for you. But the Groove tools are really, really handy, and it comes with the course comes with the whole preset amount of Groove materials. So if that's something you're interested in, you can click the link and purchase the Groove Mastery program. Definitely worth adding to your practice artillery, because we're going to do some work on some groove right now. And this is a really great jazz swing concept, and it's known as the second, fourth beat of the bar. This is very, very important. So I'm going to ask you a question. I can't believe I've had this channel for all these years and I haven't spoken about this until now. In fact, I have spoken about it once on BBC Newsnight when talking about the Beatles, actually. But that's the only time you'll see anything on our channel I've covered this topic. Here's a question for you. When you listen to music and you just clap to the music or you tap your feet to the music, where are you clapping? Now, if the song is in 4/4 time, and let's assume the song that you're clapping to is in 4/4 time, most music people listen to is in 4/4 time, unless it's a waltz or a 5/4 time piece. But let's assume it's in 4/4 time. You've got 4 beats in the bar. You've ever been to a concert and everyone's clapping in different places? Some people are clapping on the first and third beat of the bar, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Now, that might work well if I'm clapping along to Mozart's Eine kleine Nachtmusik. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, dum, da, 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 da. Very sort of a classical format. And actually a lot of pop songs actually have that type of feeling, that the 1 and the 3, not all, but even some do. Then there's clapping on the second and fourth beat of the bar, which for swing and jazz and funk and so many types of music, I don't even know where to start, but so many forms of 20th century music that derives from African American music, the Black African American music. Very, very important. The culture of African music has this different aspect to rhythm. So in European classical music, feeling the beat on the second and fourth beat of the bar is a form of syncopation that can create tension, but not in the jazz and the swing paradigm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's actually more relaxed. And you can feel that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I were to groove or to feel the rhythm of this music, Let's test Fly Me to the Moon on the first and third beat of the bar, and then on the second and fourth beat of the bar. So I'm going to play the chords only, not the melody, and we'll test this. So on the first and third beat of the bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, as an exercise, it's interesting, but it feels very regimented, a little tense, perhaps a little square. Now I'm going to click on the second and fourth beat of the bar. Can you notice that difference? This is a really good thing to just exercise with, to click on your alternative hand on the second and fourth beat of the bar while you're playing the chords in the left hand. Very powerful exercise. It builds up your body communication and your body sense of rhythm, because rhythm comes from the body. It does not come from the intellect. So if you're used to thinking of music as 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're counting it out all the time, counting is useful to a point that it stops working, because rhythm comes from the body. It's a muscle memory. It's like dancing. It's movement. Rhythm is movement. They're very integrated together. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is a skill that everyone has to learn in music. There's a lot of myths out there that rhythm is just something you either have or you don't. That's just a lazy teacher's saying to say, I can't be bothered helping somebody. We don't believe in that at the school. I think music is a language, and like any language, it can be learnt. And if you're exposed to it, you learn the language. But you've got to train your body to feel these sort of grooves and rhythms. So that's why the Groove Mastery Program is such a useful investment, because it will help you build up these skills. So you can just hear me clicking along to that. 1, 2, on the second and fourth beat of the bar. And yeah, I can reverse it 1, 2, 3, 4, do this option just to practice the difference or get a sense of the difference. And then next time you're at a concert and everyone's clapping along, consciously decide what groove fits with the piece better. Is it the 1 and the 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4? Or is it a 2 and a 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 and the 4 is not always the main groove of a song. Some Beatles songs I know are more like the 1 and the 3. So it really depends, and it can be quite subjective, and you can try a bit of both. But for jazz and swing, songs like Fly Me to the Moon, it really doesn't work to think, fly me to the moon. It's a little bit regimented. So we want to feel that 1, 2, 3. And that, if once our body has that concept, the way it's going to influence the way we accent the rhythm and play melodic material. 2, 3. So let me put the two together. So now we're going to get to the topic of improvising on the song. And this is where we can have all sorts of fun. Now we've got that left hand really creating a foundation for us and a groove for us. Now it's time to think of what we can do in the right hand. And we have two forms of improvisation we can apply. We can have a universal form of improvisation where we find a scale that's going to fit with the whole thing. And I can actually think of two scales that will fit with the whole thing really well. Firstly, an A natural minor scale, which is quite convenient. It's an easy scale to remember, all white keys. And we can add some nice alternative melodic lines. So let's try some. It's good to leave little gaps between each phrase. And you can just slowly experiment by inventing a few phrases. biggest challenge with improvisation is still holding that chord pattern while you're creating material in the right hand. And that might take a little bit of practice, a little bit of time, but then just keep that right hand really simple. Remember, less is more. See, I'm just starting with little 2-note phrases. Now that's all well and good, but after a while I found I was feeling a bit trapped in that scale. It was starting to feel a bit predictable and I wanted to spice things up. And so a really useful way to spice it up would be to use the A minor blues scale, which will particularly add a very interesting tone to this, the D sharp, the flattened fifth. Now here's my A minor blues scale, A, C, D, D sharp, E, G, and A. But I also wouldn't want to just natively only stick to the A minor blues scale. So I'll just demonstrate with it just with the A minor blues scale so you can hear it. And whilst it's lovely, it just spices everything up really well. I don't just want to rely on one scale, because already I'm starting to feel like I'm over this blues. There's too much going on. So it's the integration and combination of two different scales, and they're very related to each other. I mean, this one is just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, and the other one is A, C, D, D sharp, E, G, and A. So they cross over each other. So perhaps I could make up a phrase, invent a phrase on a blues, invent a phrase on an A minor, blues, A minor, and switch it up a little bit. Let's play that and see what happens. And you can just play with a backing track, or you can just play the right hand first and play around with the opportunities there first before you commit yourself to adding the left hand, which adds another layer. So perhaps you can play with me now and we can experiment with it a little bit. Blues, minor again, back to the blues. Putting both in there. So that just gave me a bit more to play with, but I can even develop the improvisation a bit further by acknowledging the chords in the left hand a bit more and using more chordal shapes in my right hand improvisation. And a chord generally tends to have more thirds in it than a scale. It misses notes out, so I can create shapes like this even on different chords. So I'm going to try a more chordal approach to my improvising in the right hand now. bringing back the blues, back to the more chordal approach. Let's play the tune again. I'm going to talk a bit about melody now. If you think of the likes of Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, one of the incredible skills they have that you hear critics and musicians speak about, authors of music, experts of music, they talk about the phrasing. Oh, they're so good at phrasing. The phrasing's amazing. What does that mean? Well, in fact, phrasing in classical music and jazz mean totally different things. Phrasing in classical music is more or less where the music breathes. It doesn't really necessarily affect the physical rhythm of the music. But phrasing in jazz actually is about the actual rhythm of the music and adjusting the rhythm of the music. So I could do a whole masterclass on phrasing alone, so I won't. I'm just going to give you one really cool phrasing topic. And you can either show up early or you can show up late. And you do a bit of both and it sort of compensates for each other. So, Frank Sinatra might show up early one night. Fly me to the moon. Now, because he's just ran through that phrase quite quickly, fly me to the moon, he can then leave a longer gap before he gets to the next phrase because he sort of did it quickly. And so then what could he do in the next phrase? Well, he could do that quickly and leave a big gap. So he could go quickly on the first two phrases. Fly me to the moon and let me sing along the stars. I forget the words because I'm thinking about chords so much. But you get the idea. Or he could do the opposite. He could go quite slowly and be late. And he could even show up late to the phrase. Fly me to the moon. Or he could show up late and then sing it faster. Fly me to the moon. Or he could show up early and go slower. Fly me to the moon and let me down. So they're the sort of things we can actually do on the piano. And the reason why I sang it then to exemplify is not because I really am a singer. I'm not. But the words can influence those decisions. And that's what makes those artists, be it Sinatra or Ella Fitzgerald, some of my two favourite singers for that type of phrasing. They do this so naturally because they're very connected to the lyrics. When you hear them sing together, Louis Armstrong also had incredible phrasing when he sang. Very underrated as a singer because he was obviously one of the greatest trumpet players of all time. But if you forget actually his phrasing on the trumpet and the voice are sort of, he's using the same techniques. And so as a singer, it works well. Our right hand here is the singer. So this hand is the diva. It can show up early, it can show up late, it can show up on time, it can do what it likes. But the left hand, it's non-negotiable. It's holding the foundation. So I'm going to really play around with the phrasing. And again, let your ear be the guide. I haven't even got to stride bass, which is a left-hand technique. So this will have to be, I think, in a future video. But it's another way I can flesh out those chords and make that left-hand chordal approach really work. I've got the bass, and then I've got the chord. Then I can use fifth intervals in the bass to flesh out those chords more. Great way to practice stride bass is just to start with both hands, chording it out. Left hand bass line and the right hand on the chord. But of course, we're going to finish with something really difficult here. Stride bass is very difficult. I know professional players who just don't do stride bass. They're so used to playing with bands that they've neglected their left hand. Well, it's not that they've neglected their left hand, they just don't have the need for the left hand to do that sort of thing, because the bass player would kick them out if they were doing that sort of stuff. So it's become sort of in some circles, a bit of a lost art. So don't expect yourself to be a great stride bass player, but if it's a skill you want to build up, it's a good trick, and it sounds great. You've got really good independence then. You're basically making the bass player redundant with your left hand. Sorry, bass players. You do make our lives easier though, because we don't have to do stuff like this, I guess. So I'm going to finish off with a stride bass version of the song. Remember to head on over to our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, to get our free resources kit. That should keep you busy for a while. Go Latin. And back to the swing. Get to practice, and I'll see you soon.